Hello, dear listener. Welcome to this journey of rest and peace. Before we begin, let's take a moment to settle in together. Find yourself a comfortable position. Whether you're lying down, nestled in your bed, or curled up somewhere soft and safe, adjust your pillow. Pull your blanket up just the way you like it. Let your body sink into whatever is supporting you. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it go. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. For the next little while, your only task is to rest, to let go, to allow yourself to drift. If thoughts arise about tomorrow, about yesterday, about anything at all, just acknowledge them gently and let them float away like clouds. They'll be there later if you need them. But right now, this time is just for you, just for rest. Let your jaw relax. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Feel your body becoming heavier, softer, more at peace with each breath. Good. Now, I'm going to take you on a journey to a place unlike anywhere you've ever been. A world where everything moves slowly, where peace is woven into the very air, where magic isn't something that happens. It simply is. A planet called Aether, wrapped in eternal mist, where you can finally rest. Let's go there together now. Gently, softly, as we drift across space and time, you find yourself floating, weightless and warm, carried on currents you cannot see but can feel supporting you like loving hands. You're drifting through the darkness of space, but there's no fear here, only peace, only the gentle pull towards something beautiful waiting ahead. And there, emerging from the starlit darkness, is Planet Aether. From a distance, it looks like a pearl suspended in space. Not the harsh white of ice planets, but a soft, luminous gray-white, as if the entire world has been wrapped in the most delicate silk. Bands of silver and pale blue swirl across its surface, clouds of mist so thick they're visible from space, dancing in slow, hypnotic patterns. 3 suns orbit this world, each one smaller and gentler than Earth's sun. One glows soft amber, like honey and candlelight. One shines pearl white, like moonstone and morning. One pulses with the faintest touch of rose, like the inside of a seashell or the blush of dawn. Together, they never create harsh daylight. Instead, they bathe Aether in an eternal, magical twilight. The softest hours stretched across the entire planet, forever. You're drawn closer now, pulled by something warm and welcoming in your chest. The atmosphere embraces you as you descend, and the fog wraps around you like coming home. There's no jolt, no landing. You simply arrive. You're standing, or perhaps floating just slightly above the ground, it's hard to tell, on a platform of pale stone that seems to glow from within. The stone is smooth and warm, worn by countless centuries of gentle mist and loving feet. The air here is neither warm nor cool, but perfectly comfortable. Like slipping into water that's exactly body temperature, where you can't tell where you end and the world begins. You breathe in, and the air tastes like vanilla and stone and morning dew, with undertones of something sweet and mineral and slightly floral. A taste that doesn't exist on Earth, something unique to this magical world. Around you, the fog is everywhere. Not the cold, damp fog of Earth that chills and obscures. This is different. This fog is alive. It moves with intention, with grace, curling in slow spirals that follow patterns only it understands. It glows softly from within, lit by the 3 gentle suns above, as if the air itself has learned to hold light. You can see perhaps 20 feet in any direction. Beyond that, everything fades into that beautiful, pillowy gray-white. And it feels perfectly safe. Perfectly right. You don't need to see further. This small sphere of visibility is exactly enough. It's intimate, cozy, like the fog has created a room just for you. Above, through the layers of mist, the 3 suns appear as soft glows, amber, pearl, and rose, creating halos that pulse very gently, like the planet itself is breathing light. In and out, bright and soft, like a heartbeat made of luminescence. You begin to move forward, and movement here is effortless. Your feet barely touch the ground. The low gravity of ether, about half of Earth's, makes you feel light, almost buoyant, as if the fog is holding you up, helping you along. Each step feels like gliding, like dancing, like the gentlest flight. You're in what the inhabitants call the Crystal Quarter, and as you move forward, buildings begin to emerge from the mist like dreams crystallizing into reality. These structures, they're beyond description, really, but we'll try. They're made from a material that exists nowhere else in the universe, a substance the inhabitants call breath crystal. It forms naturally on ether where certain minerals in the fog condense over thousands of years. The result is something not quite glass, not quite crystal, not quite pearl. It's translucent and opalescent, shifting between colors depending on how the light catches it. Now silver, now pale blue, now lavender, now that soft rose gold of distant dreams. But here's what makes these buildings truly magical. They're porous. Their surfaces are covered with thousands upon thousands of tiny openings, like frozen lace or coral made of light. The fog doesn't stop at the walls. It flows through them, in and out, making the buildings breathe. Actually breathe. You can see it happening. Mist drawn in through one side, held for a moment in the crystalline structure where it glows a little brighter, then released out the other side, as if the architecture itself has lungs. And as the fog passes through, the buildings sing. Very, very softly. Each opening is a different size, tuned to a different frequency, and as air moves through this living crystal, it creates tones so subtle they're more feeling than sound. The whole city hums with it, a lullaby played by buildings, for anyone who cares to listen. You pass beneath an archway that spirals like a nautilus shell, and you notice there's no door. There are very few doors on Ether. The inhabitants trust each other, trust the fog, trust the gentle nature of their world. Inside and outside blur together beautifully. You're in a courtyard now, or perhaps a room, or perhaps a space that's somehow both at once. Floating in the air, suspended by something you can't see, are globes of bioluminescent life. These are called fog hearts, living creatures native to ether. They look like spheres of concentrated mist, about the size of a large melon, and they glow from within with that same trichromatic light. Amber, pearl, rose, pulsing very slowly, like lazy heartbeats. One pulse every few seconds. They drift through the space slowly, randomly, creating ever-shifting patterns of light and shadow. When a fog heart passes near you, you feel warmth. Not physical warmth exactly, but something else. An emotional warmth. A sense of being loved, being welcome, being exactly where you're meant to be. The inhabitants say the fog hearts can sense feelings, that they're drawn to peace and contentment. When you're calm, they come closer. And when they come closer, you become calmer. A beautiful cycle of mutual peace. The ground beneath your feet sparkles with embedded minerals. With each step, tiny points of light flicker where your weight presses down. Bioluminescent microorganisms that live in the stone itself, responding to touch with brief, gentle sparkles. It's like walking on stars. Like each step creates a small constellation that fades after a few seconds, only to be reborn with the next step. You notice sounds now. The distant chime of bells, but these aren't bells made by hands. They're living things called songvines, plants that grow in the upper atmosphere and dangle down into the city. Their stems are hollow, and seed pods hang from them like bells. When the wind moves through them, they ring with notes so pure, so clear, so perfectly spaced that they sound composed rather than random. Each note lasts for many, many seconds before fading into the next. You could listen for hours and never hear the same melody twice. Somewhere nearby, water is dripping. But this water, it falls upward as often as down. Ether's strange atmospheric pressure and the presence of certain minerals create zones of reversed gravity. So you see drops of water falling up from a fountain, rising in slow motion, catching the light, becoming tiny prisms, then reaching an invisible ceiling of normal gravity and falling back down. Up and down, down and up. An endless, mesmerizing dance. On Ether, time feels different. The planet rotates so slowly that a single day lasts nearly 40 Earth hours. But even that measurement feels wrong here. The inhabitants don't count hours or minutes. They measure time in breath cycles or mist turns. Poetic measurements based on how long it takes for the fog to complete its natural patterns. Time is circular here, not linear. Nothing rushes. Nothing ends. Everything simply continues in its gentle, eternal rhythm. You continue your slow journey through the crystal quarter. The path curves always, following the logic of water finding its way downhill, of vine growing toward light, of mist curling around corners. Everything organic. Everything natural. Through the translucent walls, you see shadows moving. The inhabitants of Ether are humanoid, but have evolved into something ethereal. They're tall, 7 or 8 feet on average, and impossibly slender, with long limbs and longer fingers. Their bodies are adapted to the low gravity and thick atmosphere. They move like silk in water, like shadows given form, like grace personified. They wear robes that trail behind them, made from spun fog fibers, and the robes seem to merge with the mist itself, so you're never quite sure where clothing ends and atmosphere begins. When they notice you, and some do, turning their heads slowly, curiously, their faces are serene, not blank or emotionless, but deeply, profoundly at peace. They have large eyes, adapted to see through fog, colored in shades of silver and lavender and pale gold. When they blink, it's slow, like a curtain falling softly. They nod to you, or touch their long fingers to their chest in greeting, and you feel welcomed not just to their city, but into their peace, their way of being. You come to a plaza where water collects in a shallow pool. The pool is perfectly circular, perfectly still, like a mirror made of liquid crystal. In it, you see the reflection of everything: the glowing fog, the breathing buildings, the floating fog hearts, and your own face, peaceful and calm. But the reflection seems more than a reflection. It seems like you're looking through a window into another version of this world, one that exists just beneath the surface, equally real, equally beautiful. And in the water, you see them, the water dancers. These are tiny, transparent fish-like creatures that exist only in still water on ether. They're about the size of your pinky finger, and they move in perfect synchronization, creating patterns, spirals, flowers, waves, that seem too perfect to be accidental. The inhabitants say the water dancers are telepathic, sharing one mind among many bodies. They create their patterns based on the emotions of anyone watching. Right now, they're creating gentle spirals, moving slowly, peacefully, reflecting the calm that's settling into your bones. At the edge of the pool is a bench carved from a single piece of pale stone. The stone has natural veins of some crystalline mineral running through it, and these veins glow very faintly, pulsing in time with something. Maybe your heartbeat, maybe the planet's rotation, maybe the breath of the fog. It's impossible to say, but it feels right, feels synchronized, feels like you're being held by something much larger and much kinder than you ever imagined. Sitting on this bench feels inevitable. The stone is warm and perfectly contoured, as if it's been waiting for you specifically. As you sit, the glow in the stone brightens just slightly, responding to your presence. You breathe in and out, in and out, and for a moment, there's nothing else. Just breath, just light, just the soft, impossible peace of this magical world. The path leads onward from the plaza, winding into gardens unlike anything that could exist on Earth. Here, plants have evolved to grow without soil, without ground, sustained entirely by the living fog. These gardens are three-dimensional. Plants grow not just from the ground, but from mid-air, their roots dangling in space, absorbing moisture and minerals directly from the mist. The roots themselves are beautiful, long, thread-like structures that glow with faint bioluminescence, colored in shades of blue and green and violet. They hang in curtains, creating natural doorways and chambers, swaying ever so slightly in the movement of air. Walking through these curtains of roots means brushing against them, and when touched, they respond. They pulse with brighter light for just a moment, and they release tiny spores, not harmful, but magical. These spores are called dream seeds, and when breathed in, they're said to make sleep deeper, dreams more vivid and more pleasant. The air in these gardens is thick with dream seeds, sparkling like dust motes in the soft light, making everything slightly hazy, slightly unreal, completely enchanting. The plants themselves are called mist ferns, though they're not related to earth ferns at all. They grow in massive fronds that can be 10 or 15 feet long, and these fronds are so delicate they seem to be made of fog that's learned to hold a shape. They're colored in every shade of gray, blue, and purple imaginable, with edges that glow faintly silver. When fog moves through them, they sway and ripple, creating patterns like slow-motion waves, like the aurora borealis rendered in plant form. And these plants are aware. Not conscious perhaps, not in the way animals are, but aware. They respond to presence. When someone walks near, the fronds lean slightly toward them, as if curious, as if greeting. When you stand still, they settle into a comfortable position, as if keeping you company. The inhabitants of Aether don't think of these plants as separate from themselves. They're all part of the same ecosystem, the same consciousness, the same gentle existence. Among the mist ferns grow flowers that defy Earth biology. They're called breath blooms, and they only open when they detect carbon dioxide, when someone breathes near them. So as you walk through the garden, flowers open in your wake. Small cups and bells and spirals of petals, colored in pale pink and lavender, and that particular shade of blue that seems to exist only on Aether. They bloom for just a minute or two, releasing a fragrance that's somewhere between jasmine and vanilla, and something completely alien, completely wonderful. Then they close again, waiting for the next breath, the next visitor. The fog here is thicker, more present, more alive. Visibility has decreased to maybe 10 feet, but there's no anxiety in this. Instead, there's wonder. The world has become smaller, yes, but also more magical. Anything could be just beyond the edge of visibility. Anything beautiful, anything peaceful, anything your heart needs to see. There's music here too, but not from buildings, from the plants themselves. The mist ferns vibrate at specific frequencies when fog moves through them, creating harmonies that seem almost conscious in their beauty. And scattered throughout the garden are windflowers, plants with petals made of thin, resonant crystal. When even the gentlest breeze touches them, they chime, creating melodies that weave in and out of the mist fern's harmonies. The result is a symphony, not planned, not composed, but emergent. The garden is making music out of its own existence, and that music is so beautiful, so perfectly in harmony, that it seems impossible it isn't guided by some consciousness. Maybe it is. Maybe on Aether, everything is conscious in its own way. Maybe peace is so woven into the fabric of this world that even the plants understand it, express it, embody it. The path winds deeper, always deeper, into layers of mist and music and growing things. Here, there are sculptures, but they're not made by hands. They're called fog forms, and they're created when the fog itself becomes so saturated with minerals that it condenses into semi-solid shapes. They look like abstract art, tall spirals and frozen waves and shapes that seem to capture motion while being perfectly still. They're translucent, glowing from within, and they very slowly change shape over weeks and months as new minerals condense and old ones dissolve back into mist. One of these fog forms is hollow, shaped like a small cave or grotto. Stepping inside means entering a space that feels sacred. The walls are smooth and cool, and they glow with gentle light, blue and green and silver, pulsing slowly. The fog here is completely still, undisturbed by any breeze, and in this stillness, there's a presence. Not threatening, not demanding, just present. Like the planet itself is paying attention to this small space, this small moment, holding it gently in its awareness. This is a listening place, a place to hear what the fog wants to say, which is usually nothing at all. Just the sound of silence, which isn't silent but is filled with tiny sounds. The gentle chime of distant windflowers, the soft harmony of mist ferns, the quiet breathing of the planet, and underneath it all, a low hum, so low it's more feeling than sound, which the inhabitants call the planet's heartbeat. Sitting in this grotto means being held by something ancient and kind. The fog wraps around like a blanket. The light pulses like a lullaby. Time becomes even more meaningless than before. There's only this moment, this breath, this perfect peace that asks absolutely nothing. Emerging from the garden, the path leads to one of Aether's most distinctive features, the hanging bridges. These structures connect different levels of the city, different islands of architecture, but they don't connect them in any normal sense. They hang suspended in the fog with no visible support, defying physics as Earth understands it. The bridges are woven from sky silk, a material created by floating organisms that drift in Aether's upper atmosphere. These organisms, called mistweavers, are like spiders crossed with jellyfish, translucent and luminescent, and they produce threads stronger than steel but weighing almost nothing. The inhabitants harvest these threads with great reverence, never taking more than the mistweavers can spare, and weave them into bridges and cloth and art. The sky silk is magical to behold. It's not quite silver, not quite white, but seems to shift between colors depending on the angle of light. Sometimes it looks like spider web covered in morning dew. Sometimes it looks like starlight given form. And it glows, very faintly, but noticeably, with its own soft bioluminescence, creating visible paths through the fog. Walking onto the bridge means stepping into space. The bridge is perhaps 3 feet wide, but it feels wider because there's no sense of danger here. The railings on either side are more decorative than functional. Delicate spirals of woven sky silk that seem too fragile to hold anyone but are actually incredibly strong. Not that they're needed. The low gravity, the thick fog that feels almost tangible, the general peace that permeates everything. Falling seems impossible. A concept from another world, another way of being. The bridge sways very gently with each step, not in an unsettling way, but like being rocked in the most loving cradle imaginable. Like the bridge itself is alive and responding to presence, adjusting, accommodating, creating the most comfortable journey possible. Each step forward reveals a little more of the bridge, a little more of the fog sea surrounding it. And sometimes, the fog parts just enough to offer glimpses of wonders below and above and all around. Below, other levels of the city become briefly visible. More buildings of breath crystal, more gardens of mist ferns, more plazas with their pools and fog hearts. The city is built in layers, each one floating at a different height, some anchored to the actual surface of the planet far below, others suspended by means that aren't entirely understood. Perhaps magnetic fields, perhaps something in the minerals, perhaps simply the will of the planet itself to hold them there. Above, when the fog thins for just a moment, the three suns become more visible. Their colors are clearer now. That amber sun like honey poured through space. That pearl sun like wisdom given light. That rose sun like love made visible. They don't move fast enough to track, but they're moving, always moving in their slow dance around this world, creating shifts in light so subtle they're felt rather than seen. And around the bridge, floating in the space between above and below, are the creatures of Aether's air. They're not birds. Aether has never developed anything like birds, but they fill the same niche. They're called fog rays and mist dancers and dream gliders, depending on their specific type. The fog rays are perhaps the most striking. They look like manta rays made of translucent membranes stretched between delicate bone-like structures. They're large. Some have wingspans of 15 or 20 feet, and they float through the fog with the grace of underwater creatures, which makes sense because they essentially are underwater. The fog here is so thick, so rich with moisture and suspended particles, that these creatures can swim through it, using the same motions a ray would use in Earth's oceans. They're beautiful beyond words. Their bodies are transparent, but shot through with veins that glow in iridescent colors, turquoise and gold and purple and silver. As they move, these colors shift and pulse, creating light shows in the fog. And they sing. They produce sounds by vibrating special membranes on their bodies, creating music that's hauntingly beautiful. Long, wavering notes that sound like whale songs crossed with wind chimes crossed with something entirely alien. When a fog ray passes close, and they sometimes do, curious about anyone on the bridges, there's a sensation of being acknowledged. Their eyes, large and dark and filled with something that looks like intelligence, turn to observe. They seem to understand that this is a moment of connection, of one conscious being recognizing another. Then they drift on, continuing their endless peaceful journey through the fog sea, leaving behind a trail of bioluminescent particles that sparkle and fade in their wake. The bridge continues its gentle path through space, sometimes curving, sometimes ascending slightly, sometimes descending. It would be easy to get lost here, except that getting lost implies there's somewhere specific to be, something specific to do. On Aether, all destinations are equally valid. All paths lead to peace. So wandering is not only acceptable, it's encouraged. It's a meditation, a prayer made of footsteps. At one point, the bridge passes through a cloud of whisper motes, tiny flying organisms no bigger than dust particles. There are millions of them, maybe billions, and they form clouds that drift through the fog like schools of fish. When a person walks through them, they swirl around, creating patterns, and they make sounds, incredibly soft sounds like distant whispers, like secrets being told in languages that were old when Earth was young. The inhabitants say that if you listen carefully to whisper motes, they tell you things you need to hear. Not with words, but with feelings, with sudden knowing. Walking through them means being surrounded by invisible wisdom, by the accumulated peace of millennia, by the gentle consciousness of the planet itself trying to communicate. Eventually, The bridge reaches another platform, another small plaza where multiple bridges converge. This is one of many hubs throughout the floating city, places where pathways from different directions meet. But there's no bustling here, no rush. Perhaps 2 or 3 of the tall, graceful inhabitants are present, each moving with that characteristic fluid slowness, each wrapped in their own quiet journey. In the center of this plaza stands a fountain unlike any on Earth. It's called a gravity fountain, and it takes advantage of the strange physics of ether. Water flows from a central spout, but then it divides. Some streams fall downward normally. Others arc upward, flowing against gravity, reaching toward the fog above before eventually curving back down. Some streams flow sideways, defying logic entirely. The result is a constantly shifting sculpture of water, never the same twice, always beautiful, always mesmerizing. And in this fountain live echofish, small creatures that are perhaps the most magical fauna on Aether. They're translucent, about the size of a thumb, and they have the ability to echo feelings. When someone stands near the fountain feeling peaceful, the echofish glow blue. When someone is happy, they glow gold. When someone is in a state of meditation or deep rest, they glow silver. Right now, they're all glowing silver, responding to the profound peace that settles over anyone who spends time in these floating cities. Sitting at the edge of this plaza, on a bench woven from living vines that have been trained to grow in just this shape, means being part of this peaceful convergence. The bench is covered in soft moss lichen that cushions perfectly. The vines that form its structure pulse very gently with green bioluminescence, creating a feeling of sitting on something alive, something that wants to support and comfort. From here, visible through the fog, other bridges extend in all directions. Some lead upward to higher levels. Some lead downward to regions closer to the surface. Some lead horizontally to other districts of the city. All of them glow with that faint sky silk luminescence, creating a network of light through the fog, a constellation made of paths, a map made of bridges, a city that exists more in 3 dimensions than 2. And everywhere, the fog continues its slow dance, lit from within by 3 suns, by bioluminescent life, by the breath crystal buildings, by sky silk bridges, by fog hearts and echofish and glowing roots. Everything here creates light. Everything here is beautiful. Everything here is magic made manifest, wonder made real, peace given form. From the plaza, one path, broader than the others, lined with larger fog hearts that pulse in perfect synchrony, leads to a structure that rises from the mist like a dream of architecture given impossible form. This is the Great Library, though it contains no books in any traditional sense. It's a repository of memory, of experience, of everything the inhabitants of Aether have learned and felt and understood across their long, peaceful existence. The library is massive, perhaps the largest single structure in this floating city. Its walls are made of the clearest breath crystal, almost invisible, so that the building seems to be made of organized fog, of structured light, of condensed atmosphere. The architecture is organic, following patterns found in nature, nautilus spirals and flower petal formations and crystalline geometries that appear in frozen water. Towers spiral upward and disappear into the fog above. Domes bubble out from the central structure like soap bubbles frozen in place. Bridges and walkways connect different sections at various heights, creating a three-dimensional maze that somehow makes perfect sense once inside. The entrance is a tall archway carved with patterns that move. Yes, move. The breath crystal here has been infused with colonies of microscopic organisms that very slowly shift and change, so the patterns in the archway are never the same twice. They form spirals and waves and ancient symbols whose meanings have been lost to time but whose beauty remains eternal. Walking through this archway means passing through art that breathes, that lives, that welcomes. Inside, the space opens into a vast chamber that defies the logic of the building's exterior dimensions. It seems much larger inside than outside, not through any trick of perspective, but through actual spatial manipulation. The inhabitants say the library exists partially in another dimension, that its true size isn't limited by the physical structure. Whether that's metaphor or literal truth is unclear, but standing in this space makes it feel true. The ceiling soars upward, 50 feet, 100 feet, more, and disappears into fog that fills the upper reaches. But this fog is different from the outside fog. It's been cultivated, refined over centuries. It's threaded through with particles that make it shimmer with rainbow iridescence. It glows from within with that trichromatic light, amber, pearl, rose. But here the colors separate and recombine in slow, shifting patterns, creating an aurora that plays across the ceiling in geological time, changing over minutes and hours rather than seconds. The floor is a marvel. It's made of the same translucent breath crystal as everything else, but here it's been inlaid with millions of tiny threads of luminescent material, creating patterns so complex they seem fractal. Mandalas and spirals and geometries nest within each other, each one glowing with soft colors that pulse in waves traveling across the floor. Step anywhere, and the pattern responds, brightening slightly under contact, creating ripples of light that spread outward in slow concentric circles. Around the perimeter of this great chamber, built into walls that curve upward and inward like the interior of a giant geode, are alcoves. Thousands of them, perhaps tens of thousands, each one holding crystalline formations of various sizes and shapes. These are the memory crystals of ether. The memory crystals are remarkable. They're grown, not manufactured, by specialized organisms that live in deep caves beneath the fog. These organisms, called memory makers, have the ability to encode information into crystalline structures. Over months or years, they create crystals that hold within their molecular structure everything. Images, sounds, emotions, entire experiences. The inhabitants bring their memories to the memory makers, who listen, who understand, who slowly create these crystalline records. The crystals themselves are beautiful beyond description. Each one is unique. Some are long and needle-like, some are clustered formations of hundreds of smaller crystals, some are perfect spheres, some are irregular and organic. They glow from within with colors that shift based on the type of memory they contain: blue for scientific knowledge, green for artistic understanding, gold for historical records, silver for dreams and visions, purple for philosophies and wisdom, rose for memories of love and connection. And they float. The alcoves hold them suspended in mid-air through some combination of magnetic fields and trained growth of crystalline structures. So the entire library is filled with floating crystal memories, each one glowing softly, each one containing lifetimes of experience, all of it accessible to anyone who approaches with peace in their heart. Between the alcoves, hanging from the ceiling on threads, are panels of breath crystal tuned to specific harmonic frequencies. They move very slowly in the minimal air currents, rotating and swaying, and as they move they sing. Each panel creates a single note, but these notes are so pure, so perfectly tuned, and there are so many panels that together they create chords that sound like they were composed by something divine. The harmony shifts incrementally as the panels move, creating music that evolves over hours, music that never repeats, music that seems to understand exactly what anyone listening needs to hear. This is the whisper that gives the library its name. Not a voice, but the musical conversation of crystal with light, of knowledge with air, of peace with itself. It's a sound that enters through the ears but is felt in the chest, in the bones, in the spaces between thoughts. It's a sound that makes thinking unnecessary, that makes questioning irrelevant, that simply holds awareness in a state of profound receptivity. The inhabitants who come here move between the alcoves slowly, reverently. Some stand before a memory crystal, reaching out to touch it gently. When touched, the crystal activates, projecting directly into consciousness. Not through the eyes or ears, but deeper, directly into awareness. The memory plays out not as something observed, but as something experienced, as if the person becomes, for a moment, the original possessor of that memory, feeling what they felt, knowing what they knew, understanding what they understood. Others simply sit on benches scattered throughout the space, absorbing the atmosphere, thinking thoughts that unfold as slowly as the fog outside. The benches here are grown from a combination of crystal and plant matter, creating organic furniture that supports perfectly, that seems to adjust to each individual body, that pulses very gently with warmth and light. One area is set apart from the rest, marked not by walls or barriers but by a subtle shift in the floor pattern and a slight increase in the density of fog. This is the chamber of deepest rest, the meditation sanctuary within the library. The floor here slopes gently downward to a circular depression perhaps 15 feet in diameter. The depression is lined with the softest moss lichen that exists on Aether, cultivated over centuries to be more cushioning than any foam, more comfortable than any bed. It's colored in shades of pale green and silver that glow very faintly, pulsing in rhythm with something. Maybe the planet's rotation. Maybe the collective heartbeat of all life on Aether. Maybe the fundamental frequency of peace itself. Lying in this depression means being cradled perfectly. The curve of the space supports every part of the body completely. No muscle needs to engage, no position needs to be adjusted. Gravity becomes even less noticeable than usual. There's a sensation of floating, of being suspended in something soft and warm and infinitely kind. Above, the fog swirls in slow, hypnotic patterns, lit by the aurora playing across the distant ceiling. The patterns are never random. They follow sacred geometries, spirals and fractals and shapes that appear in nature across the universe. Watching them means watching the visual expression of peace, of the fundamental mathematics of harmony. The whisper song of the crystal panels seems to concentrate here, to focus. The harmonies are somehow clearer, somehow more perfect, creating sound that feels like it's been designed specifically for this purpose. To carry consciousness gently from waking into rest, from thought into no thought, from self into something larger and softer. And there's something else here, something harder to define. A presence. Not a being, not exactly, but awareness nonetheless. The inhabitants say that the library itself has become conscious over the millennia, that so much knowledge and memory stored in one place has created something like a mind. Not a mind that thinks or wants or needs, but a mind that simply witnesses, that holds space, that offers something like blessing to anyone who rests in this chamber. Lying in the chamber of deepest rest means being held by this consciousness, not possessed or controlled. Nothing on ether works through force, but simply acknowledged, welcomed, supported. There's a feeling of being known completely and loved exactly as one is. No judgment, no expectation, just pure, unconditional acceptance. Time in this chamber becomes even more meaningless than elsewhere. Minutes or hours or days could pass. It's impossible to tell. The body rests. Thoughts slow to nothing. Awareness drifts somewhere between waking and sleeping, between being and not being, between self and the gentle dissolution of self into something larger, something that has always been peaceful, has always been kind, has always been waiting patiently for this moment of reunion. Eventually, movement happens again, perhaps guided by some intuition, perhaps following the subtle glow of pathways, perhaps drawn by something unnamed. The path leads outward from the library and begins to ascend. This ascent is so gradual it barely registers. Ramps of smooth breath crystal wind around the exterior of one of Aether's contemplation towers. These towers are among the oldest structures in the city, grown over millennia rather than built, their forms shaped by wind and fog and the slow accretion of minerals from the atmosphere. The ramp spirals around the outside of the tower in a lazy helix. There are no walls on the outer edge, just a low railing of woven sky silk that catches the light, creating a boundary more suggested than enforced. The railing isn't needed. The low gravity, the thickness of the fog that feels almost solid, the fundamental safety that permeates this world, all combine to make falling feel impossible. Walking upward means ascending through layers of fog with different qualities. Near the ground, the fog is densest, warmest, most alive with suspended particles and microorganisms. As height increases, the fog becomes slightly thinner, slightly cooler, slightly clearer. At this height, new details emerge from the mist. Other towers become visible in the distance, or what serves as distance here. Some are taller, some shorter, all graceful and organic in their curves. They look like frozen waterfalls flowing upward, like candles that have melted toward the sky rather than down, like the architectural expression of ascension itself. Between the towers, hanging bridges create a three-dimensional web connecting everything to everything else. But these bridges at higher elevations are different from those below. They're made of pure sky silk, almost invisible, just suggestions of paths through the fog. When light catches them at certain angles, they flash into visibility, brilliant lines of silver and pearl and rainbow iridescence. before fading back to near invisibility. They look like cracks in reality, like the universe showing its hidden structure, like the threads that hold worlds together made briefly visible. And floating through this space between towers are the creatures of the middle atmosphere. The fog rays are still present here, but they share the space with other beings. The dream gliders are smaller, more delicate. They look like paper airplanes made of living tissue, translucent and iridescent. They have no eyes, no apparent sensory organs, but they move with purpose and grace, riding thermals that exist in the fog, rising and falling in slow spirals. They're called dream gliders because the inhabitants say they feed on dreams. When people sleep in the city below, these creatures somehow sense the dreams being dreamed, absorb them, are nourished by them. In return, they release particles that drift down through the fog. Particles that make dreams more vivid, more meaningful, more peaceful. Higher still, where the fog grows thinner, are the star jellies. These creatures are perhaps the most alien on Aether. They're gelatinous, translucent, shaped vaguely like umbrellas or bells, and they pulse with their own internal light. They range in size from small as a fist to large as a house, and they drift through the upper fog slowly, majestically, ancient beyond measure. The oldest star jellies are said to have memories reaching back to before the current cities were grown, before the inhabitants became what they are now, back to times when Aether was different, younger, wilder. They don't communicate in any traditional sense, but when a star jelly passes nearby, there's a sensation of vast time, of patience measured in epochs, of perspective that makes all concerns seem beautifully small and temporary. The ramp continues its spiral upward. Each rotation around the tower reveals slightly different views, though different is subtle. The fog shifts its patterns. The light changes its quality incrementally. The three suns, more visible at this height, move in their slow arc across the sky, each one maintaining its position relative to the others in their eternal dance. At intervals along the ascent, small platforms jut from the tower, holding benches or simple flat spaces for resting. Some are occupied by inhabitants sitting in meditative postures, their tall forms perfectly still except for the slow rise and fall of breath. They might be sleeping. They might be in deep contemplation. They might be in some state that transcends both. The distinction doesn't matter here. One platform is different from the others. It's larger, more elaborate, and it holds a structure called a seeing frame, a square of woven sky silk about 6 feet on each side, suspended horizontally, held by 4 delicate posts at its corners. The silk of the frame has been treated with extracts from certain plants, giving it special properties. When fog passes through a seeing frame, it momentarily becomes visible in ways it normally isn't. The frame reveals the currents and eddies of air movement, the streams of different temperatures, the flows of charged particles and suspended minerals. Looking through the frame is like seeing an X-ray of the wind, a map of invisible forces, a revelation of the hidden structure of atmosphere. But seeing frames do something else too. The inhabitants say that if you look through one with the right state of mind, peaceful, receptive, expectant, you might see other things. Visions. Glimpses of possible futures or distant pasts. connections to other consciousnesses elsewhere in the city or elsewhere on the planet, or perhaps even elsewhere in the universe. The seeing frames don't cause these visions but somehow facilitate them, make the boundary between normal perception and expanded awareness more permeable. Standing before a seeing frame now, looking through it at the swirling fog, means seeing patterns, spirals and vortices, flows and counterflows, colors shifting subtly as different temperatures and densities catch the light differently, and perhaps something more. Perhaps glimpses of faces, places, possibilities. Perhaps sensing the thoughts of the star jellies drifting high above, their slow, ancient, wordless meditation on existence. Perhaps feeling the dreams of everyone sleeping in the city below, rising up like warm air, nourishing the dream gliders, cycling through the ecosystem of consciousness that makes ether what it is. The ascent continues. Near the top of the tower, the ramp leads into an interior chamber. This room is circular, its walls made of the most transparent breath crystal, allowing light to filter through from all directions. The ceiling is domed, and in its apex is a circular opening perhaps 6 feet in diameter. Through this opening, fog flows continuously, but it flows downward. The opening is positioned to catch rising fog from outside, to funnel it into the room where it falls in a slow, gentle column, creating a spiral of denser mist in the center of the space. The fog column is visible but translucent, like a waterfall made of pearl and silver and soft dreams. Standing in this column means being inside the breath of the planet itself. Cool moisture settles on every surface, on skin, on clothing, on eyelashes. Each breath intastes deeply of ether's unique atmosphere, vanilla and stone and that sweet floral mineral that has no name in any earth language. The fog wraps around like an embrace, like being held by something vast and kind. The sound in this room is distinctive. The falling fog creates a whisper, not quite white noise, but close. A soft shushing like distant waterfalls or wind through infinite trees or the ocean breathing on a calm night. And underneath that, barely perceptible, is that deep hum again, the planet's heartbeat, the fundamental frequency that underlies everything on ether. Around the perimeter of this chamber, carved into the walls at about waist height, are shallow bowls filled with water so pure it's almost invisible. In each bowl floats a congregation of light jellies, tiny organisms about the size of a pea, bioluminescent, pulsing with gentle rhythms. They're all synchronized, all the bowls around the room, creating waves of illumination that travel in circles. One pulse every few heartbeats, moving from bowl to bowl, around and around, endless. The light is amber, then pearl, then rose, matching the 3 suns outside. The light jellies are children of those suns in some mystical sense, responding to their distant call, expressing their colors in miniature, creating a microcosm of the celestial dance. This is a breathing room, a space designed specifically for the synchronization of breath with light, with fog, with the patient rhythm of the planet. Breathing happens here automatically, without thought or effort. The body knows what to do. In, as the light brightens. Out, as the light fades. In, out, in, out. There's no need to count, no need to try. The light does the work. The fog does the work. The planet does the work. There's only the allowing, only the reception, only the gentle surrender to rhythms older and wiser than any individual consciousness. Descending from the tower leads through different pathways, different passages, all paths connected, all paths sacred. The fog thicker again at this lower level, creating intimate spaces, small rooms of mist that open and close and reform continuously. This district known for its sound gardens. Here, architecture and nature and art blend into something that transcends all three. Structures have been designed over centuries, grown over millennia, for one purpose: to make the planet sing. The crystal tubes tower upward, tall, hollow spires of breath crystal, each one a different length, a different diameter, each one tuned over years of careful adjustment to create specific tones when air passes through. They stand in clusters and groves, some alone as solitary monuments, ranging from the height of a person to structures that rise 50 feet or more and disappear into the fog above. The tubes are not uniform. Some are straight, some curve, some spiral like nautilus shells. Some are wider at the top, some at the bottom, some consistent throughout. Each variation creates different harmonic properties, different ways of catching and channeling and transforming the wind into music. And they're alive with color. The breath crystal here has been infused with colonies of bioluminescent organisms that respond to sound. When wind passes through the tubes and they begin to sing, the organisms glow, creating visible representations of the invisible music. Each tube lights up from within when its note is sounding, pulsing waves of color that travel up the length, blue and green and purple and gold and rose and silver, creating light shows synchronized with the sound. The wind on ether is gentle, but it's constant, and it changes direction slowly as the planet rotates, as temperature differentials create subtle pressure changes, as the three suns pull and push the atmosphere in their gravitational dance. So the tubes sing continuously, but never the same song twice. The melody and harmony and rhythm shift slowly, organically, creating music that composes itself, that is genuinely new in every moment, that has never been heard before and will never be heard again in quite the same way. The sound itself defies description. These are not the notes of earth instruments. The tubes create tones so pure, so clear, so perfectly in tune with natural harmonic series that they seem to bypass the ears entirely and resonate directly in bone, in tissue, in consciousness itself. Low notes that are felt in the chest and abdomen. Middle notes that sing in the throat and heart. High notes that seem to originate in the crown of the head and extend upward into the fog, into space, into infinity. And they hold. Earth instruments release their notes quickly. A plucked string, a struck bell, all fade within seconds. But these crystal tubes, when activated by the patient wind of ether, hold their notes for minutes. A single tone will swell, fill the space, establish itself as the foundation of reality, then finally fade so slowly that there's no moment where it's clearly gone, just a gradual dissolution from presence into memory, into silence that might also be sound, just very quiet. Chords form when multiple tubes sing together. But these aren't simple triads. The harmonic language of ether's sound gardens is more complex, more sophisticated, utilizing intervals and relationships that Earth music has never discovered. The result is chords that sound simultaneously completely alien and deeply familiar, like remembering a language spoken before birth, like hearing the music that played during the formation of the first stars. Between the crystal tubes, other sound-creating structures add their voices. Water features channel condensed fog through spiraling paths, creating waterfalls that sing as they fall, pools that chime when drops strike their surface. The pools themselves are tuned, different depths, different minerals dissolved in the water, different shapes, so each one creates its own note when activated. Hanging from invisible threads are wind chimes, but not simple metal chimes. These are complex assemblies of hollow crystals, each cluster designed by sound artists who have devoted lifetimes to understanding how crystal shape and size and internal structure affect tone quality. The chimes are arranged in three-dimensional formations, spheres and spirals and geometric patterns, so they strike each other in specific sequences as they rotate slowly in the minimal breeze. When chimes sound, they release visible particles, spores from symbiotic plants that grow on their surfaces. These spores drift through the air, catching light, creating brief sparkles. But they do more than that. When breathed in, they have subtle effects on consciousness, not intoxicating, not mind-altering in any harsh sense, but gently consciousness expanding. They make music more vivid, more meaningful, more deeply felt. They create synesthesia, sound becoming visible, light becoming audible, the boundary between senses dissolving into unified experience. The sound artists of ether, those who have devoted themselves to tending these gardens, move through the spaces like dancers, though their movements are so slow they're barely perceptible. They adjust the angle of a tube by fractions of a degree. They add a single drop of mineral solution to a pool to change its pitch slightly. They trim microscopic amounts from a chime to perfect its tone. Work that takes place over weeks and months to create single perfect notes, harmonies that might exist for only one day before the wind shifts and something new is needed. These artists wear robes that trail behind them for 20 feet or more, made of sky silk embedded with tiny resonating crystals. As they move, their robes create their own quiet music, harmonizing with the larger symphony around them. They become part of the composition simply by existing, by breathing, by being present in this space dedicated to the transformation of air into beauty. Paths wind through the sound gardens in spirals and figure eights, designed to provide optimal listening positions for different combinations of tones. Walking means journeying through acoustic spaces that shift and change, now dominated by low tones that rumble in the chest, now filled with middle harmonies that seem to originate inside the skull, now graced with high crystalline notes that feel like they're coming from stars, from distant galaxies, from the dreams of sleeping gods. Some paths lead to enclosed spaces, not quite rooms, more like acoustic chambers formed by careful arrangement of crystal tubes around small clearings. In these chambers, the sound concentrates, reflects, reinforces itself. Standing in the center means being inside a chord, being surrounded by harmony so complete, so total, that individual notes become irrelevant. There's only the unified field of sound, only the singular experience of being held by music. Benches appear at intervals, each one positioned with acoustic precision. These benches are carved from a special type of crystal that's naturally resonant, so sitting means becoming part of the instrument itself. The bench vibrates subtly with the music around it, transmitting the harmonies directly into the body through bone conduction. Feeling sound rather than hearing it. Becoming sound rather than listening to it. One bench in particular, positioned at what sound artists call the heart of the garden, has been worn smooth by centuries of use. The crystal here glows slightly warmer than elsewhere, rose gold rather than silver, and it's said this bench holds memories of everyone who has ever rested here. Not in any way that can be accessed or retrieved, but as a general feeling of accumulated peace, of generations upon generations of beings who have sat in this spot and let the music carry away their worries, their fears, their sense of separateness from the larger harmony of existence. Sitting here now, or simply existing here, because sitting and standing and lying down all feel similar in the low gravity and thick fog, means joining that lineage, adding one more consciousness to the accumulated peace, becoming part of something ancient and ongoing and infinitely patient. The music continues, patient, endless, requiring nothing. Each note is invitation. Each chord is possibility. Each progression is journey into deeper and deeper peace. Fog moves through the garden, visible because of the bioluminescent particles it carries. The fog itself seems to dance to the music, or perhaps the music is created by the fog's dance. Cause and effect blur together. Tendrils of mist spiral upward when high notes sound. Waves of denser fog roll through when bass tones resonate. Everything connected. Everything responding to everything else in an ecology of sound and light and moisture and consciousness. Above, barely visible through the fog, the three suns have shifted positions slightly. The light has changed quality. Less amber now, more pearl, with just a touch more rose than before. These shifts happen so gradually they're imperceptible in any given moment, only noticed by comparing memory of before to experience of now. And even that distinction feels arbitrary, unnecessary. Before and now blend together. There is only the eternal present, stretched out in all directions, containing everything that ever was or will be. The path from sound gardens leads downward, though downward feels the same as any direction here. Movement happening through fog that parts gently, welcomingly. No destination required. No goal necessary. Just this continued gentle existence, this ongoing meditation of being in a place where peace is fundamental rather than achieved. These lower areas hold pavilions, structures designed only for rest, for surrender, for the letting go of everything that isn't this soft, endless now. The pavilions have no walls, just roofs, domes and curves of breath crystal held aloft by slender columns so delicate they seem impossible. The columns themselves are alive, actually living organisms that have been encouraged to grow in just these shapes. They pulse very faintly with bioluminescence, green and gold, like slow heartbeats, like breathing made visible. Under these roofs, protected from nothing because there's nothing to be protected from, floors are covered in growth unlike anything on Earth. Part moss, part lichen, part something else entirely, a symbiotic organism developed over millennia specifically for comfort. Soft beyond description. cooler than air but warmer than stone, perfectly dry despite the moisture-rich atmosphere. Colors of gray-green and silver and palest blue, glowing very faintly with their own light. This living carpet grows in patterns, spirals and fractals and sacred geometries that seem to draw the eye inward, deeper, into states of relaxation that approach trance. The patterns are never quite the same, constantly growing and shifting over weeks and months, but always maintaining those hypnotic forms that help consciousness release its grip on waking, on thinking, on being anything other than purely present awareness. Lying down here, inevitable. Impossible not to. The cushioning receives body weight and distributes it perfectly. Every curve accommodated. Every point of pressure released. Spine finding its natural alignment without any effort. Hips cradling into slight depressions. Shoulders supported completely. Head resting at perfect angle. Not too high, not too low, but exactly right. Above, the roof close enough to feel sheltering, but far enough to not confine. Its surface slightly translucent, so the glow of fog shows through but dimmed, softened, filtered into the gentlest possible light. Colors shift very slowly. Now more amber, now more pearl, now that soft rose that seems to emanate from the heart of compassion itself. Around each pavilion, positioned at the 4 cardinal directions, stand clusters of crystal tubes from the sound gardens. But here they're smaller, quieter, creating not symphony but lullaby. Low notes that vibrate in the floor, in the living cushion, in bones and organs. Middle notes that fill the space without demanding attention. High notes so soft they might be imagined, might be real, might be both, drifting like distant stars, like memories of songs heard long ago in dreams. The fog flows through the open sides of pavilions, bringing its scent. Vanilla and stone and that ineffable sweetness. Cool touch on exposed skin. Moisture condensing in tiny droplets that catch what little light exists and sparkle dimly, briefly, before being absorbed or evaporating back into the atmosphere. Everything slightly damp here, but comfortably so. Not cold dampness, not clammy unpleasantness, but moisture the way it's meant to be, nurturing, soft, part of the natural state of things. Fabric absorbing it and becoming softer. Skin drinking it and becoming hydrated. Hair catching it and creating tiny halos of refracted light. Time has completely ceased. Concept foreign. Irrelevant. There is only the long now, the eternal present, stretching endlessly in all directions with no edges, no boundaries, no distinction between one moment and the next, because all moments are this moment, have always been this moment, will always be this moment. The 3 suns continue their slow arc, invisible behind layers of fog and roof, but their influence felt in the gradual shift of light quality. Perhaps dimming slightly, perhaps not, perhaps merely changing in ways too subtle to name. Perhaps the very concepts of brighter and darker, day and night, beginning and ending, are illusions brought from other worlds and other ways of being that have no relevance here. Breathing continues. Automatic. Natural. No need to think about it. No need to control or monitor or be aware of it in any conscious way. just lungs expanding and contracting in their own time, at their own rhythm, synchronized with nothing and everything, with the pulse of bioluminescent organisms in the living carpet, with the slow song of crystal tubes, with the movement of fog through the open pavilion, with the rotation of the planet, with the orbits of 3 gentle suns, with the heartbeat of existence itself. In, pause, out, pause, in, the rhythm of everything, the fundamental pattern, the basic way that life happens when there's no resistance, no effort, no trying to be anything other than exactly what is. Thoughts, if any remain, are formless, barely thoughts at all, more like gentle movements of awareness, like ripples on a perfectly still pond, appearing and disappearing without creating any disturbance, without leaving any trace. No thought completes. No thought needs to complete. The space between thoughts has grown so wide, so spacious, that thoughts themselves become irrelevant, optional, unnecessary elements in consciousness that's discovering it doesn't need content to exist, doesn't need anything to be aware of to simply be awareness. The pavilion holds space, holds nothing, holds everything, holds this moment of perfect rest. The planet breathes beneath. Or perhaps breathing happens and planet is just where this particular breathing is occurring. The distinction unclear. The boundary between individual body and planetary body dissolving, thinning, becoming transparent, becoming nothing. Just atmosphere. Just this soft existence. Just consciousness floating in gray-white peace, suspended in something infinitely kind, infinitely patient, infinitely welcoming. Only fog now, only light, only the gentlest possible sensation of existing without needing to be anyone, without needing to do anything, without needing to go anywhere or become anything or understand anything. Only rest, only peace, only this endless, bottomless, perfect softness. Fog breathing, in, out, light dimming, or brightening, or simply being what light is when there's no one left to perceive it as separate from perception itself. Sound continuing, low tones, crystal singing its patient song. Notes overlapping, dissolving, reforming, dissolving again into silence that is also sound, just very quiet, just the fundamental frequency, just the planet's heartbeat, just moisture settling, tiny droplets forming on surfaces, growing, becoming heavy enough to fall. One drop, another, each one taking its time, each one following the path it must follow, down, or up, or sideways. Gravity strange here, or perhaps gravity the same everywhere and it's only perception that shifts. The cushioning below, no separation between body and cushion, just surface, just support, just the planet holding what rests upon it the way it has always held everything, the way it will always hold everything, with no effort, with no strain, with infinite patience and infinite gentleness. No center anymore, no edge, no inside or outside, only space, only atmosphere, only this gray-white that is all colors and no color, all light and no light, all substance and no substance. Breathing happening, No one breathing. Just breath. In, out, pause, in. The pause between breaths growing longer. Comfortable. Safe. No urgency to breathe in again. The body knows. The body has always known. It will breathe when breathing is needed. No need to help. No need to monitor. No need to be involved at all. Crystal tubes still singing. Their notes so slow now, so extended, that they seem eternal. One note lasting forever. Or perhaps many notes all sounding together but so perfectly in tune that they become single tone, single vibration, single expression of the fundamental frequency that underlies all existence. Rose light, or pearl, or amber, or all three blended into something that has no name, that needs no name, that simply is. Warmth spreading. Not physical warmth, but something else. Emotional warmth. Spiritual warmth. The warmth that comes from being completely safe, completely accepted, completely allowed to simply be exactly this, exactly here, exactly now, with no need to change or improve or become anything other. The sense of being loved, not by someone or something but by existence itself, by the fabric of reality, by the fundamental nature of consciousness, by whatever it is that makes it possible for anything to be rather than nothing. That loving presence holding this moment, this awareness, this gentle dissolution of everything that was solid into everything that is mist. Only sensation now, barely even that. Just the faintest sense of existing, of awareness continuing despite there being less and less to be aware of. Thoughts gone, emotions gone, distinctions gone. Just this.